fantastically.net, and I'm going to be looking at a game from Cappelle la Grande in France in 2010. And so, rising prodigy Yaroslav Zhrebukh has the white pieces here, and Anton Kovalyov is playing black. And Zhrebukh, at the time of this game, was 17 years old, and I think he was about 25-50. Kovalyov is no joke either at 2,600. So definitely expect some big things to come from Mr. Zhrebukh. So black is playing the Sicilian defense, and this is the Paulson variation. And bishop f4 is an interesting move. You don't see it so much. I mean, more common, knight b3 maybe is an idea. Although you typically wait until black kind of forces that. Bishop e2 is an idea, bishop e3, even f4 has been tried. And I think maybe g4 is an idea here, trying to go into the carries attack, although it's a little bit crazy. So anyway, bishop f4 is an interesting idea because it's trying to pinpoint the d6 pawn or d6 square as a weakness and really try to pile up on it fast. So bishop e2. And so now knight takes, and you don't really see it so much with younger players playing such a positional style, but here Zhrebukh just plays e5. He just wants to achieve an advantage in a pawn structure. Now it would be a big advantage. Let's say if pawn takes, white would have a lot of play in this position based on the fact bishop f3, and the c6 pawn is extremely weak. So instead, knight d5 by Kovalyov definitely makes sense. I mean, you want to shore up in the middle. The knight on d5 should be very strong. So a couple of exchanges, now knight e4. And so, okay, so kind of coming out of the opening, white is going to have a very strong square on c5 for his knight. And he's got a good position in the middle. So kind of, the bishop on c8 for black is really horrible. And he's just got too many pawn islands. In an endgame, those pawn islands are going to come back to haunt him. So here, black played f5, which was really radical. But looking at his options, first I was like, this guy's crazy. But then I thought about it, and the options, the alternatives are not so bright either. I mean, let's say queen b6 was the first idea I had. Well, knight d6 check, not going to be so good, losing the ability to castle there. Or c4, and then knight d6 check. Queen a5 check doesn't do anything. c3 would block it very well. Castling directly looks like white is going to have an attack on the h-file. And I thought he could also just play queen d4, centralizing the queen and controlling a lot of critical squares. Also, bishop d3 didn't look like, knight b4 seemed to kind of... It seems to work out the idea, but I don't know. It depends how white went. I mean, white could achieve a draw right away here. Throwing in the knight check. But I don't even know if white really wants a draw here. I mean, it's an interesting position. I mean, white could take the draw. He could maybe try to play on it. It seems like, he could just take a draw. So anyway, just an interesting combination. So instead of castles... Queen d4, against castle seemed to be the right move, centralizing the queen. F5 is what Kovalyov played, and it's maybe a little bit too much imagination because after check, king f8, g6 fails to bishop takes g6 because of the pin on the h file. King f8, and now queen f3. Very instructive how Zhrebukh conducts the attack here, because queen f3, instead of retreating the knight and losing time, he plays queen f3, developing another piece and introducing a pin in the position. Maybe g4 would be effective then. So queen a5, black's got to get some activity. Rook b8, and now knight d6. Knight d6 is pretty interesting, just because it's kind of a tough move to find. I mean, white's really trying to attack. Black's king is stuck on f8, and just kind of a strange move. But it ties up the rook on b8. Now rook b8. That's one of the reasons white wanted to maintain the tension and leave the knight on e4, because it would have opportunities like this. So now the rook on b8 is tied up. It's got to defend the bishop on c8. And so queen c5, and now Zhrebukh just plays pretty calm. I mean, knight c7, okay, so black is defending the e6 pawn, and just castling queenside. So a naturally, a very natural attack going on. White is not giving his opponent any chances. King e7, he's got to try to connect the rooks. Black's problem is that the h7 pawn is a critical weakness. And if he plays h6, now he's going to have a weakness on the light square complex. And if he plays g6, he's going to have a weakness on the dark square complex. So, he tries to solve that by playing king f6. Pretty radical solution. So now b4, Zhrebuk just tries to go nuts and refute it right away. And so b4 forcing the queen to pick. I mean, is it going to go to b6 or to e7? And so now g4 certainly makes sense, trying to go after the exposed black king, and g6. So just sacrificing a piece, but the main idea is that now white can play f6. If queen takes f6, rook d7 is just going to take the queen. It's going to win the queen. So maybe this is what Kovalyov missed with his king f6 idea. And so now white just, he's got the initiative and never looks back. Couple of checks, queen to f4, threatening mate. So black takes, and now a little series of accurate checks by white finishes the game. Rook h3, nice rook lift. And now a little bit of maneuvering, and after queen h5, Kovalyov resigned because he's going to get mated in 3 moves. King d8 and just queen to g5. And that'll be it. So Zhrebuk was 17 at the time of this game in 2010. Crushed a pretty strong GM in Kovalyov. So a very impressive game. I'd definitely keep an eye on him. So this is Will Stewart from OnlineChessLessons.net, and thanks for tuning in.